Mhm.
See, I used the other one to detangle it earlier, and then I
Yeah.
used this one to really get it straight. And I'm gonna have to go through and I'll put some of my balm and my mustache wax on it in a little while.
Okay.
For a lot of people, right now is the
Uh-huh.
beginning, but for you and I, it's kind of in between because we just
Uh-huh.
had a real good discussion on Patreon about what you do.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share a lot more of the fun aspects here on YouTube. I didn't want to think I was just all business, but give them a quick breakdown of what you do. Give them the who you are and all that good stuff real quick.
So I'm a American woman, Black American woman who travels abroad.
Now you go with the long intro.
I travel abroad and I look after people's luxury homes and sometimes their luxury pets. That's what I do.
That's a real understatement because when we just had our discussion, and a lot of people know this, when we go on my Patreon, that's where I put in a lot of the technical details of what it is that I do and what my clients do and what people do to make money. And the Patreon is where a lot of people come for a lot of that in-depth information. This is not necessarily about the Patreon. I'm just telling folks who know or who are on my Patreon, I want them to go look right now. How you doing, Charles Travels? Because that's where we gave a lot of details on how she really got into the business of being paid to be in people's houses in luxury apartments while they're not home or running her other business as well. So if you go down here, we titled it Sitting in Luxury. So if anybody wants to check that out, you really gave the insight on how to start that as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah.
That's just one side to who you are, though, because you as the professional world traveler, where are you right now?
I'm in Thailand right now, right outside of Bangkok.
Yeah.
Did you? What'd you like about it the most? What'd you like about it, and then what you miss about it the most?
They're the same thing. The food. I love spice and chili.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes. Yes.
Love
Yes.
chili.
Yeah. Were you in Bangkok or were you in another part of Thailand? Because I think it's important for people to understand there's more to Thailand than Bangkok itself.
I lived in Bangkok.
Awesome.
Lived in Bangkok.
Wow.
And thank you, BK, for pointing that out to us, because I don't want people to just like, share, and subscribe my page. If you people really want a wild ride, I want everybody to go to Divine Orisha. Okay? I want you. Now listen, you do things on there, I'm sure I'll get kicked off for it. I talk about some pretty interesting stuff.
Well, I mean, I told you I might not be everybody's or just anybody's cup of tea, I just happen to look at things from many different dynamics and I speak from those dynamics at any given time. Absolutely.
I got to tell you, that red wig takes me back to anime. You look like a superhero about to do the transformation sequence.
And I did. I absolutely did. I did a transformation sequence and been doing sequences of transformation for myself and others ever since.
Skinny dipping and floating.
Yes. Yes. That's something that I think a lot of us, it's not, okay, so think about it. We're all born naked, right? And we're all born naked in water, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're out in the ocean or in a huge body of water and you're naked, it's just like when your natural self. There are things that happen to you beautifully, that is, when you take all those filters, layers, and clothes off and be your natural self. Now, I'm not saying doing this in an area where they may arrest you and give you citations or consider it a crime, be reasonable about it, but there are places you can go to let it hang.
Yeah. There's always that. Well, let's do this because as I said, for people who want to know more about your life being someone who gets paid to live in luxurious places and just take care of their stuff, I want everybody to go back, and I'll definitely have to put a link to it. It was called Sitting in Luxury, and we went for about 45 minutes on the details of how to get that done.
Yes.
Because this is brutal. This is important. This is important.
Yes. Yes.
Let's do this then. We talked about some things that were kind of fun.
Yes.
Let me do this. Tell us, you're as the divine Orisha. For a lot of people who don't know what that word means, because we've both lived in Brazil, you're coming back to Brazil, I'm in Brazil now. Break that word down for us.
Well, let's just say it's an African form, or what the African continent call a form of what most individuals would identify as a deity or deities, a collective of deities. And there's more of an energy perspective to it. So it's more than just a title. It's an energy that is a sovereignty and a divine right, that actually exists in all of us, just like the Christ consciousness, if you will, or Jesus Christ, or, just an example. Um, there's a perfection to him that he was able to embody here on this planet for those who believe in the Christ consciousness or Jesus Christ walk the earth. Well, the energy is similar. It's just in a different culture, and those are my connections with the deity, being what an Orisha is. Everyone else will have a different take on it. Different cultures will have different takes on it, different definitions. So I'm not going to say that I'm absolute, but I'm also not going to back down from what I know. And speaking my experience as an Orisha, and from a deified energy perspective, I'll say. Not me as a human, not what you see before you, the energy, that focus.
I love talking to people of different faiths and belief systems. I myself am just a pure heathen. I hold truck with no gods, no kings. But it's always interesting to hear about other people's belief systems and just kind of take in how other people live the global universe. So it's always just interesting to see that. So as you travel the world, is this something you preach, you teach, or?
I'm more of a holistic individual. I don't share anything unless I'm speaking to someone who's under my tutelage, because I believe that's something that's very personal. Your belief system is personal to you, and it's not for me to speak against or speak of it or speak for it. That's something very personal for you and what your path is in this journey called life. And same is for me, and same for anyone else. Individuals who come to me wanting some type of guidance, there's a lot of life experience that I've had that I can share, but there's this also thing called being an old soul. And when you're an old soul, you end up connecting in ways that perhaps a lot of individuals don't. And you're able to perceive things from many different levels that a lot of individuals may not. And this is something that I've been realizing that I've had the ability and gift and power to do ever since I was 7 years young, and being able to connect with adults on a level of spiritualism, and helping navigate their journey in this embodiment, or whatever embodiment they have called life, to help in their growth and evolution, soulfully and spiritually speaking, however that looks like, and regardless of their religious and or spiritual affiliations, belief systems, or background.
I said to you earlier, and I think we touched on this. You remind me of a good buddy of mine, Renee.
Okay.
And we did two. We did Brazil is more tantric than hedonistic, and sneaky quarantine sex. And we talked about. I want you two to combine like Voltron.
Well then, okay.
Yeah, I think you two would have a lot to talk about, possibly a lot to share, especially considering that you are coming back to Brazil, where she and I live. I hope that, by the way, where in Brazil did you live last time?
This was in Paraty, which is in Rio de Janeiro. Um, and it was an amazing experience, to say the least. I was able to dwell within the rainforest, on an estate, that is, not literally in a tent on the rainforest, but an actual estate in the rainforest in the Brazilian hills and mountains there.
Oh, wow.
And I got a chance to enjoy bathing in a mountain river that was in my backyard of the estate every single day, with flecks of gold floating around in the water. Ice cold water at that, very drinkable water and very clean water. Um, and just to be able to sit in the water and watch toucan birds fly around, or those huge Amazonian blue butterflies, hummingbirds, jaguars even were, on the prowl, but they were nice to me, so I didn't get attacked or,
Ooh.
get stared down by a jaguar. Yeah, that part. That was exciting.
You said you got stared down by a jaguar, and it was exciting.
No, I said I didn't get stared down by a jaguar, but I could hear the growl, but it wasn't towards me. So, um, those kinds of things. And then to be able to see the Milky Way at night, and the stars, it was just an amazing experience. So I'm excited on my return to Brazil, this year.
So,
Absolutely.
Brother Sid Owsley said he sent a message, but I don't know if that message is for me because I don't quite get it.
Okay.
He said the protest started during the Heru Kuti cycle, divine justice.
The protest? Okay.
I don't know what the Heru Kuti cycle is. So, Brother Sid, if you want to type out a few words to kind of explain to us what we're looking at, that's not my you got me. So we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
So Brazil is one of those things that, as I said to you before, something that I did kind of recreationally has become a full-time business with expat relocation services, helping people get their paperwork done when they get here to be able to stay here and what options they have. Something I used to do, a couple a month, not anything to justify calling it a business, has over the past 30 days just skyrocketed to being something that has been born of people deciding maybe now is a good time to realize America was never on my team. Is Brazil someplace you want to go back to over the long haul?
Absolutely. That's my settling spot. That's where I'll be, reestablishing home when I'm ready to settle.
I actually had to put that there at Expat Relocation Services because I'm doing so much. I had to add it to my business profile. And
Yes.
something you talked about, I tell people all the time, don't look at the resume. The resume is fun. Always look
That's
at who's
fun.
through their references,
Exactly.
because you're the people that give references and say, hey, this guy is who he claims to be, and I've got a bunch of them. But that business
Exactly.
has been booming. So if anybody wants to catch up with me on LinkedIn, feel free to join me there. But that business, I wish it wasn't born from having to deal with so many people at once who are now, whereas before we could have done an orderly procession to Brazil, now people are just saying,
Yes.
I need you to help me now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's out of they're being more reactionary as opposed to responsive. And if they had been more, um, proactive, even, then perhaps, this would be a smoother process and transition for them, if they had foresight to be able to move regardless of what's going on. So it seems like it's more of a knee-jerk reaction.
But
So
here's the
they're
thing.
doing it
There are
now.
a lot of people who, in the past, I would have looked at and said, you should
Hmm.
have moved faster. I don't know that even by the standards of Black Americans who've never had anything given to them in the United States, who've never benefited from the benefit of the doubt, I don't know that necessarily anyone could have seen this coming.
No one could have seen this coming. No,
but
I
the
don't
other
think.
side of my brain says, of course we saw it coming. We've dealt with lynching, castration, and immolation set on fire for a long time. So it's like,
So again, when the comfort zones are being shaken up, I think that's the question we really have to ask ourselves internally. Am I doing this because my comfort zone is being shaken up? And again, it's based on a reaction. Am I running, for my life? Am I running because I'm ready to start? Because what if you get to another country and the only thing that's the same is you? So if you're an individual who can assess that, it doesn't matter where in the world you go, you can run around the same people, same situations, same circumstances in a lot of cases. Does that
yeah,
change
a lot
the
of people,
dispute?
look at folks like you and me and say, well, and rightfully so, if Wateef can do it, I can do it. But at the same time, you got to do a lot of internal house cleaning and being able to say, I'm walking away from everybody. And I've been traveling since I was 18. I've been on the road. I've lived outside of America more than I've lived in it, if you just count my adult years. But a lot of people understand that there's a consequence that comes to saying, I may get a better life, but I'm going to walk away from everybody I knew, everything that I knew. I'm going to have to learn a different language. I'm going to have to, all these things.
Yeah.
You're
really just going to learn yourself. That's really what you're going to learn. You're going to learn yourself. I mean, that's something that I can say at this point for me. My passion has always been traveling, but now it's my full-time lifestyle is traveling. But I've learned so much about myself. So even outside of what seems like pure bliss, there are times where it is not a beautiful picture at all. It's times where you're sleeping at the airports, okay, for nights at a time, waiting for the next flight. There are times when your flight gets canceled and you're having to take another uh, route of travel. Depending on what's going on, you may get to, like in my line of work, there have been times where my clients have canceled after I've already arrived, and so to be able to have a grace about you that where they will still take you in or they will put you up somewhere comfortably and maybe a better outcome than what you would have arrived for in the first place. That's exactly what happened to me in this case. And then at the same time, I've ended up gaining like 2 more clients, you know. So that is one of those things. It's more than just a level of courage because I've heard that all, in my working life, personal life. Oh, I wish I had your courage. I wish I had your courage. I think it's more than more. I think it's more than courage. I think it's self-value. And when you have a level of self-value that's impenetrable, then that also is a conduit to help you move forward regardless of what's going on. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite quotes that Maya Angelou, she actually wrote a book called All God's Children Need Traveling Shoes. I love Maya Angelou. And if those who know her know, she was very world renowned and well traveled herself. And she also was a Black expatriate for the country of Ghana for quite some time, and I think a couple other countries. And I'm only bringing that up is because this is something that we as so-called Black Americans have been doing for a very long time, over 50 years at least. We've been expatriating to other countries. So it's something.
From what I've seen, we've been doing this since, I believe, between World War I, either the end of World War I or World War II is what happened when a lot of Black soldiers returned home after faithfully serving their country, air quotes, their country, to find out that they were expected to take their uniforms off, never speak of what they've done, and go back to being called boy coon, nigger, and no, you can't have a job, despite having fought valiantly in war. And a lot of them said, you know what, I might not speak French or German, but at least over there, I was just a guy.
Yes.
What did we talk about in I Am Not Your Negro when he said, I don't even need to be a special man, but I had to leave just to be a man.
Just to be a man. Absolutely. I can't tell you how much more respect I get as a human being here and being around the world than I do in the very land I was born in. And what I mean is, most individuals, oh, well, you're doing good, or, people like you. People like what I make them feel like, or what I present myself to be, to them. But when push comes to shove, and I mean that because I've experienced it, like I said, even in this current so-called pandemic, people have come for taking care of me like another human being with compassion, and ensured that all of my needs, my necessities, my basic needs, and then some were met, um, and just been there. And it wasn't just so it was a feel good, deed for them. It's who they genuinely are. And these are individuals who do not share my so-called same ethnicity of being a U.S. American. And they don't treat me because I'm a U.S. American. They treat me because I'm a human being. So the dignity that you are given and treated with when you are abroad as a Black person is something that I can attest to over and over and over again in many different dynamics and in many different instances and opportunities in just about every country that I've ever visited.
I just like being able to be judged by the quality of the work that I produce.
Yes, that too.
Let me put this out here for everybody, including you. I Am Not Your Negro, free online. The documentary was screened here in Sao Paulo, Brazil, is where I watched it. That link, I don't know how long that link will be hot, but you can watch I Am Not Your Negro for free on that service. For
Okay.
anybody who hasn't watched it, please take time this
Okay.
afternoon. It's narrated by Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, that's good.
It's a stunning movie, and it's about Baldwin. And wait, hold on, I got something. I've got you.
James Baldwin?
Yeah, come on. Oh, I'm gonna knock my books over. Hold on.
Okay.
James Baldwin, The Fire Next Time.
I'm actually audiobooking that right now. I'm on
Read it.
chapter 5. Yes, I am. So I'll be finishing that tomorrow. Yes. Because I told you I was reading, and him and Maya Angelou were like brother and sister. So
Yeah.
it's very fitting that you're reading that. I'm audiobooking that, and I'm also reading Maya's All God's Children Needs Traveling Shoes book. She's just like my mentor, my spiritual mentor, if she doesn't know it, in the
You know,
heavens above.
everybody's spiritual mentor. She, for a lot of people.
Yes. I actually published my second book on her birthday in 2016. So it was really
Wow.
cool
Where
to
can
be
I go
able
to
to
show
get
people
that
your book?
out. Say that again.
Where can I show people your books?
They're both on Amazon. They're called Kimberly's Purple.
I can't do two things at once, so you got to talk while I type.
No problem. So, but yeah, I love James Baldwin and Maya Angelou, and I actually appreciated a dissertation that James Baldwin and Nikki Giovanni did back in the 70s. It was a really wonderful discussion between the two of them. I think it was like a 2.5 hour long discussion, and it was speaking about the different injustices and how we treat each other domestically, you know, as a lash out based on how we're treated from the so-called outside races, how we do each other internally, and just how we dehumanize each other and we don't even recognize when we're doing it. Or sometimes we do it, but we don't care anymore. So just a
It's
Eurocentristic
Kimberly's prayer
mindset that
book.
we uh, say that again.
Kimberly's prayer book.
No, Kimberly's purple, like the color purple. Kimberly's
Oh,
purple.
okay.
Yeah. So um, very powerful reads and very powerful individuals and influencers of their times, and um, just how beautiful and relevant their messages and materials are now, as it was then when they initially produced it.
You're gonna have to send me a link to that because they are not finding your book. Amazon is huge, so
On
if I type anything even slowly wrong, so you can send me that later, and I'll definitely have to add that link.
okay, absolutely. But it's on there. It's two books actually. Um, so yeah, I'll put that link in there for you.
Yeah, you have to put that link in. Yeah, it's just one of those things is when you find that there are so many, like I tell people all the time, they say, well, can I do what you do to live abroad? And I say you could, but if that's not something you're really into, like I love writing, I love doing public
Yes,
speaking, so naturally I'm able to do that
yes,
for a living. Whatever you do for a
yes,
living in America, you can
yes,
find a way, most jobs, you can find a way
yes,
to do it overseas if you have the right guidance. And for a lot of people, I become that kind of guidance counselor, but
yes,
you gotta want it. You got to want it.
yes. You gotta want it, and you gotta understand that your comfort zone, if it includes being around family or who you perceive as family, that's going to take some walking on, distancing from, because you're not going to be available to be around family all the time. And I mean, not your immediate family. I mean, like your, outside of your household family. And also consider those dynamics and what impact it would have on them if you are in a position where they are dependent on your presence, and or your resources for their survival. Also, that's something that you also can have to consider,
Can
as
you
well as,
repeat that? Can you repeat what you just said?
yeah, you have to be considerate of the fact that for those who are dependent upon you, whether it be for your resources or whatever it is, can you be able to manage that? You have to consider how that affects them, how that impacts them. If you wanted to go and be abroad or travel more or travel frequently or however you wanted to do it, and if or they can travel with you. You know, there are a lot of individuals who have, say, children who are autistic. You know, so if they are dependent on you for your resources for their survival, then how can you marry that, or explore that option to travel, or, change in careers or change in lifestyles and incorporate them to be able to be part of that? How will that affect them? Can they benefit from that, or will it negatively impact them?
Success is selfish, and that's something I preach a lot. It's even
Yes.
more selfish when you're black because most of us don't come from a situation where the rest of the family will just be fine. And far too many of us are
Right.
still coming from a situation where we're the first ones to succeed. And we're faced
Mm-hmm.
with this problem. I'm not saying my white friends don't have the problem. I've actually talked to some of them about it. But when you're the
Mm-hmm.
first one or the only one who managed to make it out of where you were from, it's a very
Mm-hmm.
selfish act, and people will try to use guilt and shame and how dare you have a better life now, and don't you know that
Yes.
because there's no ability to suffering. I tell people all the time, they're like, what, don't you
Mm-hmm.
want to be in America and be part of the struggle? I'm not built for the struggle. I'm built to enjoy my life. I'm built to look at my life as so valuable that I shouldn't have
That's
to look
right.
at blood out of my face every day. But
That's right.
black people have been convinced from the beginning of America that
Yes.
we should enjoy
That,
our lives. It should be
that's
struggle.
right.
When it's not
Mm-hmm.
struggle, it's
Mm-hmm.
well, it's not authentic.
Right, right, right.
Thank you.
And I think that's unfortunate, that at this day and time that we're still held to an emotionally bonding standard that isn't really suitable for the progress of any human being, let alone a so-called ethnicity. In I'm truly on the sovereignty, self autonomy and sovereignty mindset and lifestyle. Yes, there is this thing called communal contributions. However, I am not enslaved to it, because to be enslaved to that means that I stop my actual purpose in life. And I cannot live my life on regrets for, being there for someone else's goals to be met. Okay. Um, so if that's selfish, that's part of, if you're a religious person, that's part of the higher divine's plan, is for you to develop your true self. And a lot of times that takes you away from individuals who may be unhealthily codependent on you, and not wanting to, you're enabling their so-called perceived handicaps. Um, and I mean that from not a physical perspective, because there are individuals who are physically, medically, diagnosed as handicapped. Those individuals do need care, absolutely. But again, if you are not in a position to be able to do that for the rest of your life or devote the rest of your life to do that, if that is not your calling, then you are shortchanging yourself when you do anything else but pursue what you're here to do. Black,
Well,
white, red, yellow, whatever.
I was born in Niagara Falls, New York.
Right.
Niagara Falls, New York had this great luxurious history, but it's not a good place now. It's just not. It's a place that's on its last legs. The
Mm-hmm.
population decline, the brain drain, the number of people who have
Mm-hmm.
left, the number of people who are coming in because anyone with an educational opportunity leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a friend who, just like I did, left Niagara
Mm-hmm.
Falls, New York, got an education.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And due to self guilt and that survivor's guilt that some Black people carry of how dare I have made it so far, said I'm going to go back to Niagara Falls to be with and take care of family and become part of that community.
Mm.
And hates everyone. We've had some brutal phone calls because I never want to be someone who wakes up one day and realizes that I have a resentment towards the people I'm around because I know I had the opportunity to do better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. Mustafa Shabazz says, community nationhood is needed. You can't beat out other groups as an individual. Everyone in the group has to be contributing, though. That last sentence, that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with what you
Mm-hmm.
just said. But that last sentence, when you said everybody in the group has to be contributing, though, not everyone even wants to contribute. And unfortunately, in our community, there are not enough of us to cover up to patch over the holes for the ones who don't have anything to contribute. Remember, one of the things to understand economically is that Blacks have a much lower success rate financially. And when they do achieve it, it's much easier to fall out because we don't have any of the institutions or familial bonds that float us. The best example I can give is I remember being in college. I graduated, and I was graduating with a buddy of mine, and he was complaining because he got this job, and it's an entry-level job, but it's got a good salary. But the thing that was really bothering him is he was going to be in this great city, but he couldn't afford an apartment. It was just too expensive on his first salary. But his uncle said, listen, you can stay in he's got this little gutter shack apartment that he rents out to people. He's like, I'll tell you what, I'll just let you live there for a year for free. And he was like, this apartment is like the shittiest apartment in the world on the shittiest side of town. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, it must be nice to have somebody in your family that can say, I'm going to make sure you don't have to pay rent for a year while you establish yourself professionally. And I'm proud of my friend. I have no grudge against that. It's just those small things that we realize when one or two of us are able to succeed, we have to make a very clear decision on if we're going to take any chance at all going back. And it is a selfish act. It's an act that is not born out of precedent. It's a pleasant fiction to believe that everything is like the movies where you go back to town and you help the kids who needed help and all those guys that were never going anywhere before see you as an inspiration. It doesn't work that way.
It does not. It does not. I can't tell you how many times I will go back, not showing off now. That's the key. I never go back showing off. But when I would go back, just my very presence would just piss some people off. Because what I didn't counter or factor in is that, the family still talks about the successes that you are doing in life to the other individuals who also could have did the same thing. And so when you come around them, they're looking at you and they're recalling all of the wonderful things they've heard about you that you might not be aware of. And because of that, they're going to treat you a certain kind of way. They're going to negatively project onto you their insecurities, and it's going to come out in the most ugliest of dispositions, demeanors, interactions with you, and just all kinds of stuff. So part of what you end up having to do is really analyze a level of self-care and preservation, if you will, mental preservation. Do you want to invest your energy and or time going around these individuals? Because when you do try to contribute your presence, your time, your energy, your resources, you're pretty much it's the energy is thrown back in your face.
Right.
It's insincere or whatever. You could have the most sincerest of intentions with this. But unfortunately, there's so many pathologies that's going on at the same time in our
Well,
communities.
look at what Mufasa Shabazz said. He says the Black American community is broken. People feel they're entitled to successful people's resources while the successful person get nothing for it. Whew, that's a mouthful, and that's a truthful mouthful, because you're also in a situation where people will look at your resentment because they know you're here because you choose to be, not because you have to be.
Right.
Their feeling of accomplishment is not even close to your base. That's difficult to talk to someone who you know is here, but they could be anywhere in the world. And if they could be, you don't want to be there, so why would they? Thus, they feel like you're being patronizing.
Wow.
I say this, and I remember telling you earlier, I get phone calls from Black people all over the world who know who I am, and they email me. I'm not a professional counselor, but I end up having to listen. And in some cases, I've had to get people help because we don't deal with that.
Yes.
We don't deal with the guilt of success very well.
Nope. It's thick, it's deep, and it's generational. There's so many different undealt with things that we as humans, and then as a so-called ethnicity culture, and then as a community and a nation, and as a species, that we've had to keep dealing with, keep smiling with, keep dealing with. And it's been over generations, and I'll say this, Maya Angelou, I just came across a video she did speaking about a poem she wrote called The Mask. And at the end of it, it jerked a tear out of me because I saw tears coming out of her eyes. And that's something I had never seen. She's such a beautiful orator and, like I said, a spiritual mentor, but to see that she wept, the power in the weeping of Maya Angelou here, that's something that just took me to the floor, okay? Because the words that she used, and when you think about it, one of the statements that she said is that our ancestors had to smile so that we can be here. And when you think about the weight of that, so that means that, my fifth removed grandmother here, or great 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 grandmother, in order to keep her life so that my life could happen, she had to smile at somebody to keep from getting here. Those kinds of situations would happen. And there's so many different dynamics. So we are a unhealed nation. We are a broken
Can you see
nation.
that? Can you see that clearly?
No, it's a little small.
Small? Because I put the map.
Okay.
Yeah, I put it there for anybody who wants to read. I'll also put it in the comments.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, that's.
But it's an actual video on YouTube also. So if they want to hear her orate it, they can hear the power of her voice speak about it and see her, hear her voice flexion as well as her energy in it. But powerful, absolutely powerful.
I'll put in the link to where she reads it.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, it's powerful. I mean, someone asked me, they said, I can't believe you, as one of those Black men who got out, became successful, financially stable, and now you're running away. Running away? Of course I'm running away. And it was, well, what about our forefathers? Do you think our forefathers were hung, burned from trees, and castrated to force me to have a picnic under the same tree they were killed under? Of course not.
Right. All right.
Do you really think they would like to have seen their great-great-great-grandson under, that might have been too many great, that long ago, still eating under the same yoke of, they died and smiled and blah, 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 so I could get the fuck out.
pretty much right there, because a lot of them wanted to, and they couldn't. So they live so that you can have the liberty to have that choice, not that you're required to do either one. They died, and or when people talk about you have your ancestors, fought so that you can have the right to vote. Okay, the right and the privilege to exercise, not necessarily mandating that I actually utilize a voting power. But that falls on deaf ears a lot of times, because a lot of individuals also think that you should vote, and it's like, okay, so you want me to vote for the lesser of two evils, because the options that I have, I don't want either one. So
yeah, for me, this is my whole thing about voting. I think people vote on the wrong things. Voting for the president is far less effective than voting for your local coroner, who can judge someone's death as suicide even though they were shot 5 times in the face. Vote for your local school administrator, who decides under what circumstance a child can be denied their education, and find out if those criteria more commonly fit
that
Black children.
part.
Vote for a local
That
judge,
part.
what is the minimum sentence required to give someone the maximum, and you can find out who these people are. And if you like them,
That's right.
advocate for them. And if you don't like them, make their life hell. But voting is important.
That's
and
right.
for me, when I was going to vote for Bernie Sanders the first time he ran, and then after watching Hillary Rodham Clinton just totally dry spike him out of his situation, and then hearing her and Donald Trump, it was like, I voted Trump, and I'll explain why in another video. But my whole thing was, people tend to forget how bad Hillary Clinton was. Hindsight is people tell, oh, I can't believe you. Listen, do you really know what you were voting against? But hey,
right.
Look at what Kenna, dear sister Kenna, is a worldwide expat. She comes here quite a bit and shares her wisdom with us. She said, only people that say they're doing anyway, I don't even listen to them. You did that. You did what you want. Many won't do what they really want. You stepped out of the rat race. People are freedom.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. So you're in Thailand. What is your master plan for getting back here to Brazil? Are you coming to visit us in Sao Paulo? Are you going straight to another city? What are you doing?
I'm coming to Natal, and then I'm going to make my way down to Sao Paulo. But of course, I got to stop in my beloved powder tea and get my cachaça. So that part. And then I'll be in Sao Paulo.
Excellent. Excellent. So are you going to be on the first day smoking as soon as the dust clears and the airports open up again?
Yes. Yes. I would have been there now, actually, if this hadn't, if the global lockdowns hadn't occurred, I would have been in Brazil right now. I already had plans and business arrangements to be there.
You'll get here. You'll get here. We miss you.
Yeah, so thank you. I miss you guys also. But it's awesome speaking with you and connecting with you here. And I look forward.
Make sure you like and subscribe and all that. But this is the important part, especially if you're watching on Facebook. Make sure you subscribe to the main YouTube channel, because this is how I get so many awesome people to chat with us and bring us their wisdom. As I said, make sure you go to her channel, because I showed you the link to that before. If you want to hear some of the things that she shared with us about her business over on the Patreon side, go to that. The link is in the comments. And Kenna, I had to damn near prostrate myself saying, please, Kenna, come and visit me in Brazil. And she was like, no, I don't want to go to Brazil. And I'm showing her all kinds of pictures. She finally buys a ticket. So all three of us could have been sitting on the corner eating a roasted chicken together, laughing and having a good time.
Yeah. Well, just in time for Carnival. How about that?
I'm afraid. I've been to Carnival enough times. I tell everybody, go to Carnival in Rio at least once in your life to say you've done it. Rio's Carnival doesn't do it for me.
I want to go to the one in Salvador.
You know what? The ones in Salvador is great. Here's what I show people.
Go to. Mm-hmm.
The one in Salvador is great. Now, do you go to ensayos in Brazil?
Ensayos?
Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with the word ensayo?
No.
Okay. An ensayo is kind of like the pre-party in Brazil. It's
Oh,
where they do all the
yeah.
practices for these giant things. There, it is so. I mean, it is so spectacular to go
Uh-huh.
to an ensayo because they're playing music and doing songs. Some of them may not even make it into the actual show, but you can go in and have these giant parties. Matter of fact, here I'm going to share something with you guys. I'm going to say for
Okay.
everybody who's watching is there you go. She got a question for you. Where are you from, Kim?
Well, I'm from the US and I've literally lived all over the US, coast to coast.
Gotcha. Where were you born?
Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes.
So watch the ensayos, but now watch this. I'm going to show you guys. Let's see. Where'd it go? Here are some of the videos on ensayos that I've gone to. And
Okay.
let's do this. Let's go to, where's the good one? Let's go to this one.
Okay. Hold on one hot second. Let me do something.
Hey, outside Nene, the Villa Machildri at another sound.
Sorry, that was kind of jarring.
This is a private.
And I have the volume down low, but uh-oh. That's why she looks familiar. Uh-oh, Kim, y'all might have had some kinfolk in common, maybe, or a high school in common. Let's see. Hold on. I guess she had to take an emergency call. But I was going to wrap it up anyway, so let's do this. She'll be back. I'm going to talk to her about being from Memphis. And I love everybody. I hope you all are safe out there. Thank you. Dun, dun, dun.